What's up, everyone? It's Andrew Bone here. National Signing Day just came to a close for the Crimson Tide. Alabama ends with 25 signees in this 2020 recruiting class. Today, not the most exciting day for Alabama in terms of getting a couple more guys on board. Now they did sign three additional guys who are already committed: Javon Baker and Jamil Burrows out of McEachern High School in Powder Springs, Georgia, who we knew that they were going to stick with their decision. And then Damion George, the big offensive tackle out of Houston, who actually originally signed with Alabama in December, but kept it kind of quiet, didn't want to announce anything, decided to wait until this last signing period to announce his decision. So kind of knew that going in, kind of hinted at it, couldn't really announce it. Wanted him to have his time to do that. So Alabama ends with 25. We thought they were going to potentially end with 27. McKinley Jackson announces his commitment to Texas A&M instead of Alabama. Kind of what we've been saying the last few weeks. It was really close. It had been a big kind of a toss-up really the last week or so as to what he was going to do. A lot of people were kind of assuming over the last month that it was going to be LSU. In the last week, maybe last 3 or 4 days, everyone was kind of thinking Alabama or Texas A&M. We made a prediction of Alabama just based on everything that we had been hearing, but at the same time, we knew it was going to be close. It was not going to be surprised one bit if it was Texas A&M. He said that he knew his decision a year ago. A lot of people assumed that may have been a good indication for Alabama or LSU because he had visited both schools just so many times. But A&M did a great job recruiting him, held on, and they were able to get his commitment on signing day. Now, probably one of the biggest surprises is ENOS Rakes, 3-star defensive back out of Texas that, we kind of said that if Alabama made a really strong push for, they had a good chance to end up with. Alabama made a strong push, really in the last couple days, really last 24 hours. There was some belief that he was going to end up at Alabama over Missouri. And like I said yesterday in our little update, that I was hearing it was an Alabama-Missouri battle. And it was going back and forth. And a lot of people kind of, didn't believe me there about Missouri because, a lot of people don't see an Alabama getting outworked by Missouri for a recruit. So obviously some people assume maybe he didn't have a spot at Alabama if he wanted to come out. Well, he had a spot, but Missouri did a great job. They had been recruiting him a lot longer than Alabama. And as you can see with Coach Drinkowitz, his reaction on Twitter and the video that they posted, I think he was stunned. No doubt about it. He was stunned when ENOS Rakes picked Mizzou over Alabama today. But you know what? It's not too bad of a class overall. Alabama ends with the number 3 overall class in the country on Rivals.com, but actually they finished with the highest star rating average per recruit. So I think the average star rating was 4.0, 4 5-stars, 17 4-stars in this 2020 recruiting class. And I think the biggest thing about this class is Alabama already has 13 of those guys on campus, including all 4 5-stars. They've got some guys that can come in, potentially make a big impact right away. Definitely filled up some big positions of need. I know that Tony's got a story coming out here today that's going to talk about some of the big name guys that can make an impact next season. But looking at it, I thought overall the class was great, especially on the defense side of the ball. I thought they had really loaded up, on defense, especially at the linebacker position. You look at linebacker, and you look at guys like Drew Sanders, Demoy Kennedy, Quandarius Robinson, Jackson Bratton, Chris Braswell. Just a spectacular class. Some people some people will rank or rate William Anderson a linebacker as well. He's kind of a stand-up guy, can play that jack linebacker position. That's the guy I'd really watch out for this upcoming season in terms of making a big impact. I see him, really coming on strong as a true freshman. With Alabama losing guys like Anthony Jennings, Terrell Lewis, he's going to have an opportunity to come in and play right away. 40 sacks over the course of the last 2 seasons. Already on campus. Definitely watch out for him. Another guy that I can kind of see making an early impact is Ronald Williams, Alabama's only junior college signee, coming from one of the best junior college programs in the country, Hutchinson, out of Kansas. big defensive back, 6'2", 190 pounds. Was a JUCO All-American. I think JCGridiron.com rated him as the #1 junior college player in the country. So definitely watch out for him, coming in, because Alabama doesn't really recruit junior college players unless there's a big need there. And, Alabama, Nick Saban feels like, those type of players can come in and make a big impact right away. Obviously, looking at the offensive side of the ball, Bryce Young, #1 quarterback in the country, #2 overall player in the Rivals 100, already on campus. That was a big get for the Crimson Tide to be able to flip him from USC late in the or I guess not late in the process. Back in September was when he flipped, but USC did come on pretty strong. They were really recruiting him, trying to get him to flip back at the last minute. And I think there was some. I don't know if there was any doubt about his commitment, but he was definitely having to pray about it again. Once I talked to his dad, and he kind of said, "Hey, we really had to sit down with the family and make that final decision before that early signing period." So it was definitely a tough decision for them, even after they made that commitment to Alabama. But getting him on campus early, competing with the quarterbacks that they currently have, it's going to make the competition extremely interesting. Very fun to watch this spring and leading into the fall. Running back wise, 3 running backs, 2 of them already on campus, and Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams. Flipping Jace from his commitment to Oklahoma. One of 2 guys that flipped from Oklahoma this recruiting cycle, Jace McClellan and Drew Sanders, the outstanding linebacker from Texas. Wide receiver wise, I thought that they could have added at least one more guy at that position. They probably wanted to, but after the early signing period, they kind of looked around, really didn't see anybody else that was out there. They were able to hang on to Javon Baker during this signing period, the last signing period. But getting Trayshawn Holden, Thal Jones-Bell already on campus in January, very big for the Crimson Tide. I think another thing that probably gets forgotten about is Alabama getting Smitty coming back for his senior season. Smitty going along with Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's going to be a very dominant 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position this fall for whoever the quarterback may be. As we all know, tight end was a big question mark for Alabama going into this recruiting class. I think it's definitely going to be a major factor for Alabama in 2021. And they had some big names on campus this past weekend, including their #1 target, Hudson Wolf, out of Tennessee. But you get Carl Tucker on board, who's going to be counted as a part of this class. He's a graduate transfer from North Carolina. He's only got 1 year to play. And then you have Caden Clark out of Ohio. So 2 tight ends, but like I said, only one of them only has 1 year to play at Alabama. Very small offensive line class. We kind of knew that going in. After Alabama signed some great offensive linemen in 2019. I thought this year's class was going to be small, and it was. Damion George ends up, like I said earlier, making his announcement of signing with Alabama today. They are able to flip Javion Cohen from Central High School in Phoenix City away from his commitment to Auburn back in December. And Seth McLaughlin, the outstanding center from Buford High School in Georgia, also another early enrollee for Alabama. Defensive line wise, it was a miss on McKinley Jackson today, but they were able to secure some big names on the defensive line. Got Jamil Burrows on board today officially. He's been committed for a while. Jamarian Latham, very talented in-state defensive lineman from Pickens County High School. And then also Timothy Smith. I thought that was one of the best signees for Alabama in this class. He's a 4-star recruit in the Rivals 100, rated number 42 overall. I consider him a 5-star recruit. I think he's got a chance to really be special. I think he's one of the best overall players in this class. You really can't find many defensive tackles that size who can move that well. Very surprising he actually didn't end up as a 5-star on Rivals.com. I think him not playing any postseason All-Star games may have hurt him in that regard, but definitely watch out for him making a big impact at Alabama coming into next year. So defensive line wise, I thought they did an outstanding job. Getting some good interior players. Outside, William Anderson, as we mentioned earlier, a guy that I think is going to come in and make a tremendous impact early on. You also have Chris Braswell, who's already there as well, who can, just as good in terms of rushing the passer, getting them in the backfield, coming from one of the best high school programs in the country. Um, inside linebacker wise, they were able to get Demoy Kennedy, Jackson Bratton. Demoy, one of those guys who kind of scared Alabama fans at the last minute with his trip to LSU in late November. Ed Orgeron definitely coming on strong, but they were able to keep him on board. Jackson Bratton, another guy that is already enrolled early, probably one of the most underrated recruits in this recruiting class. 6'3", about 235 pounds, had a tremendous senior season, and like I said, he's already enrolled on campus, so I think he's going to be playing with a little chip on his shoulder because of how outstanding this entire linebacker class is. And Quandarius Robinson, another in-state guy that is in the Rivals 100, got injured during his senior season, but he should be fine. It was just a foot injury, so he should be good to go here in the fall for Alabama. Defensive back wise, we mentioned Alabama missing out on ENOS Rakes today. I thought he was a great player, but Alabama really hadn't planned on taking another defensive back once they got their guys on board in December. He was just one of those guys who kind of bloomed late. They saw his highlight film. They had another spot available, so they were recruiting him, and ended up missing out on him. But overall, defensive back class extremely talented. I mentioned Ronald Williams coming in, making a big impact early on. They got Brian Branch, safety out of Georgia, who another guy that I think is very underrated. Even though he's in the Rivals 100, I think we could be looking at him 3 or 4 years down the road and saying, hey, we messed up. He should have been a 5-star. He's an Eddie Jackson type player. Can play on either side of the ball. He actually had 1,100 yards receiving as a as a senior. So he's a tremendous athlete. You look at guys like Jaquez Robinson, another kid out of Florida, out of Jacksonville. Good size, good length. I think Alabama fans are going to be excited about him. And then Christian Story, the Mr. Football in the state of Alabama, broke a ton of records, all-purpose yards, touchdowns in a career. We'll see where he ends up playing. Not really sure if he's going to end up playing safety, defensive back, maybe even offense. You never know what might happen. But I think he's another kid who's a little bit underrated, kind of under the radar. Mr. Football in the state of Alabama, and a little under the radar. But definitely watch out for him. But overall, I thought it was a tremendous signing class. Not this last signing period may not have excited Alabama fans because you miss on McKinley Jackson, you miss on ENOS Rakestraw, but you look back at the December early signing period and it was outstanding. I mean, they got several key positions of need, several key targets. Like I said, number 3 overall class in the Rivals team rankings. And like I said, highest star rating average in the country with 4.0. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with this recruiting class. I think there's some guys that can make a big impact early on this upcoming fall. I think Alabama fans should be extremely excited with the way the class is overall. And now it's on to 2021, where we're going to probably put out a story tomorrow on Thursday on some of the top 2021 targets, key positions in the need, which is going to include offensive tackle, tight end, and we got some other positions that we'll throw out there too, and some big names. So I hope you guys stay tuned to it. We'll probably be off on our YouTube channel for a little while, but we will have continuous updates on BamaInsider.com. And if anyone's interested, I am actually speaking at the Fish Market on Highway 280 in Birmingham on Thursday night. So message me if you want the details about that, and message me on here on our YouTube channel. You can message me on BamaInsider.com or hit me up on Twitter. I'll tell you all the details. So if you want to come out, meet me, hear me speak. I know Andrew Still, who's a assistant coach with the Alabama basketball team, is also speaking at the event. So if you want to come get my recap on signing day and ask me any questions in person or just want to meet, love to meet you guys. So hope you all have enjoyed this recruiting class as much as I have. Enjoyed following it, and we will see you next time. Have a great one. Thanks.